Okay, so we have some numbers for you about exactly how many people watched that glorious second Republican debate. I'd also like some numbers about how many people watched it and then regretted watching it.
Yeah, please
Count
pull
me
me
in for
next
that
time.
one.
Yeah.
All right, so put this up on the screen. Apparently, it had the lowest TV viewership since 2015. Wednesday's debate had the lowest viewership of any Republican presidential debate since Donald Trump became a candidate. You know Trump is absolutely loving these numbers. Put the next piece up on the screen so we can show you specifically. According to Nielsen's rating service, about 9.3 million people tuned into the debate. They say that's a steep drop from the first debate, which also was held without Trump and attracted about 12.8 million viewers. Go ahead and put the next piece up on the screen. Also represents by a significant margin the lowest TV audience for the Republican presidential debate since the start of the 2016 cycle when Trump first became a candidate. This is kind of interesting too. So, okay, not a lot of people watched, but for the people that watched, did it change their minds? Was it impactful? Did it shift the primary race whatsoever? You're not gonna be surprised to learn the answer to that is absolutely not. Put this up on the screen from the Washington Post, how Republican preferences changed after watching the debate. So you can see pre-debate how many people were considering voting for these various candidates. And then after they watched the debate, and this was only among people who did watch the debate, how did things shift? And the reality is they didn't shift all that much. I mean, there's just not a lot of change here. You have Chris Christie got a 5-point bump from 14% were considering him to 19%. Doug Burgum, I guess the other big winner here, 6-point bump from 9% were considering him to now 15% are considering him. No one else saw really a significant shift, 4 points, 3 points, et cetera, of people not that are going to vote for them, but are even considering voting for them. So not a lot of change here. And this part is different. We covered after the first Republican debate, there were some big shifts here. Nikki Haley got a big bump in the number of Republican voters who were considering voting for her. I think Vivek Ramaswamy, my recollection is that, he had a bump as well. So that's different. We also had some interesting numbers from the same Washington Post piece about what people were doing other than watching the debate. And notably, not many of them were watching Trump's speech. You have only 4% who said that instead of watching the debate, they were watching Trump's speech in Michigan at that non-union plant. But you had, watching something else on TV, 35%, good choice, friends. Spent time with a family member, another good choice, 22%. Slept, 21%, worked, 10%, cleaned, et cetera, et cetera.
I wish I was in the slept category.
Yeah,
that's where
same. That is where both our
Yeah.
hearts were at that moment, definitely. About halfway through the debate, I was just like, oh, what are we doing here?
That. I said, I cannot believe I up past my bedtime for this bullshit.
Outrageous.
Ended up being the most popular tweet of my entire
Really?
the entire debate. I was live tweeting all the substance, and I made one joke, and then that was the only thing that got any coverage. Which, by the way, it kind of tracks with what happened. So, I mean, I don't know. I think rightfully there was anticipation from you and I, from everybody after the first one. We're like, hey, who knows? It's interesting, right? It's a new thing.
Yeah.
We have this debate, and Trump's not there. Millions of people watch, and they're like, yeah, I'm good. And that's basically what happened for a lot of Republican voters. Republican voters are like, yeah, I like Trump. Those who like Trump, they didn't even watch the debate, or they did watch the first one. They're like, I'm good. I don't really need any of these people. There's a very few number of undecideds. In terms of the people who are undecided, I don't think they're making their choice based on the debate. I will say, I think it's sad because if Trump did attend, it would be a ratings bonanza. That's why it's the lowest since Trump came on the scene. Politics is boring without him. That's why he won in the first place. But it would have gotten people to watch, and we could have actually had some real Democratic choice. So I won't move past that, even though on a substantive level, he definitely did the right thing from a politics point of view. He's like, I'm the king. There's no reason for me to put myself in the line of fire or even the 10% risk that I wouldn't come out of this looking good. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm just going to keep winning, and all these people can keep running for second chance. I think it's sad that it has devolved into this, but it is also just a sign of his strength. The reason the ratings are lower since before he came on the stage is because people he's funny, he's interesting, he's unpredictable. And that second debate, it was the most cookie cutter debate that we've seen in a long time. Just nonsense.
I wish it was cookie cutter.
But it was
just a mess.
crosstalk. Yeah, exactly. It was just like, it was awful. And I think that, in a lot of ways, some debates were like that in the past. Maybe it's a little bit nastier now, but it didn't have the fun factor of Trump. And without that, people don't want to tune in.
It had the whiff of desperation because before the first debate, you could imagine like, hey, maybe this will
Yes.
change things. Like maybe this will really shake up the race. Maybe someone is going to emerge that's like, oh, they could really, challenge Trump, or maybe they're going to actually like put on their big boy pants and really, go after him in some significant way outside of Chris Christie. And then, you had the first debate. Nikki Haley had her moments. Vivek had his moments. People felt like Ron DeSantis did fine enough. And you look at the polls, and Nikki got a few point bump, but nothing that was going to change the state of play. So Trump still #1 by this huge margin. Ron DeSantis still #2, even though he came down a little bit. Nikki Haley coming up a little bit. Nothing changed. So then the drama and the anticipation of like, hey, maybe, you never know. Something crazy could happen, could really shake up the race. That was all gone. And then it's just like, why am I going to watch this tier of also-rans who, the best that they could hope for? I don't even think any of them is really in the running to be the vice presidential pick at this point, which I think Trump himself said. No one was able to take advantage of that moment in the spotlight to really assert for Republican voters what a Republican Party post-Trump would look like, why they should want to choose a Republican Party post-Trump, why they should move on from this man that they've been enamored with for some time now. No one was able to grab the spotlight and do that. And so even though, with the first debate, it's not like people were really like Trump's Tucker interview got a whole lot of play in spite of whatever the Twitter alleged numbers were. It certainly, his speech in Michigan also didn't get a lot of play, didn't get a lot of clips circulated. Fox was certainly not covering it because they didn't want to undercut their own debates that they were hosting. So even though it's not like people were going over to watch Trump instead of these debates, it didn't really shift things, and now there's no drama left in terms of what's going to happen moving forward. And you're right, it is sad. I said this before. This is the first presidential election cycle I can remember where these debates are just like, on the Democratic side, there aren't debates, so there's no drama or anticipation there, even though you have an overwhelming majority of Democratic voters who are like, we want choices, we want a democratic process, but that's not happening. And on the Republican side, they're effectively meaningless. They don't mean anything. There's no consequences. There's no anticipation. There's no stakes here whatsoever. And it is a sad sign of the current decrepit state of our pseudo-democracy that we're living in now.
Absolutely. It's a major sign of institutional democratic decline. And unfortunately, it's a real jump the shark moment too, because it means in the future, other candidates will not feel as if they need to comply.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Only pro side I will give is that this will destroy, hopefully, RNC control of the debates, and we will return to a type of system that we had in the past, in the 1970s, before the Commission on Presidential Debates, where the League of Women Voters and campaigns themselves sometimes organized forums like Reagan did with George H.W. Bush, the famous I'm paying for this microphone, sir. There was a lot of cool stuff that actually used to happen in the 70s and 80s that we could go back to. So if we destroy the current institution and bring back a new freewheeling system, it's possible that we could get to a better one, but it still would require an obligation on behalf of those candidates that they all had at that time that we do have to do some sort of debate, which I will always support because it's good for democracy.
Yeah, they just don't even pretend anymore they have to answer to us, and it's it's sad and pathetic. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.